Stockholm, Sweden, bringing you more Mid-Season Brawl. Continuing on down the line, we have 2 series left for today, as we will start things off now in just a few moments' time with L5 going up against Soul Torturers. I have to say it just like that. It's very, very important. Coming to the analysis concave now, look who I've found. It's Mr. Trixler. He's been avoiding me until this very moment. I can't believe he thinks he's cheated on me. And it was a long time ago, admittedly, but I still hold the grudge.
Listen, they forced me to hang out with them, okay? It wasn't quite cheating.
I don't know about that.
But I did miss you. How are you, baby cakes? Are you well? I mean, hilarious.
I'm fine. I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good.
I really like this vibe. I just want to say this is by far the best opening that I've been a part of in a very long while.
Absolutely.
This is nice.
This is good.
It feels at home more than anything, you know?
Right? There's a reason, though, that we're like so far apart.
Yeah, no, because you didn't want everybody to like know that like you how you really felt, right?
Right, exactly, exactly. All right, well, moving on very swiftly. Of course, we do have Dread as well as Mr. Tetra here as well. L5 going up against Soul Torturers. Obviously, we're going to just keep things light for the moment. L5, one of the big dogs. Absolutely one of the big dogs coming in. A lot of people have eyes on them to be one of the big performers, maybe win the whole thing. What are we feeling so far? Going to start with you, Trick.
Excited to see L5. I mean, obviously at the Eastern Clash, they came in 2nd place, but it's still a fact. They were undefeated this entire season in HGC if you don't include the Eastern Clash. This is a dominant team, and I would argue, based on what we saw from MVP Black earlier, the pressure is a little bit more here for L5. We want to see the Koreans dominate. It's what we're used to.
And with that exact tone, that's what I would like to see from L5. After that performance from MVP Black, I would really love to see L5 come out, be very, very dominant, and make it kind of a state that is, you know, whatever you experience in the very first series against Roll20, that was merely an MVP Black situation. That is not us. Right. Korea is still here, ready, you know, to win the video game.
Especially against a team that is not a league region team. A team that, the non-league regions, a lot of people seem to expect them to underperform, except for when Nomiya apparently comes in. But this is a strong team.
Yes.
But L5 should still be considered the favorite here.
Well, let's talk about Soul Torturers for a moment. It's a team pretty much all veterans with like 1 or 2 differences in there. What can you kind of tell me about Soul Torturers? What really stands out for you when you look at them from that Taiwanese region?
I mean, other than the fact that, again, as you said, they have 3 ex-members of PBA, which is historically the best performing region, period, and team out of the non-league regions, right? They are the best historically, and that is a major tool there with Zola, Goddog, and Scroll. Those guys really have been able to perform, and for me, Zola, huge player for this team ever since they formed way back in the day.
I agree with you with Zola. Claris, you described L5 as the big dog, but the god dog, he's been around since 2015. Back at the first BlizzCon where we had the actual full region set. He's been around this entire time, and there's a reason he keeps making it here. These few, like, long-term players for these guys, they have the skill level, and they have the consistency.
Yeah, I gotta agree. God Dog's impressive on that Vala in particular. Someone I really enjoyed in the finals of the Taiwan finals. So impressive to watch him. And Zola, as mentioned, has role swapped to put in different roles here. He plays so many different heroes, yet he does it effectively.
It's very true. We were just kind of taking a look at L5 here as we've got to the very, very end of these guys. So, I mean, while we've already looked at them, for L5, there was a blip that we do have to mention. There was the Eastern Clash. Gods can bleed, seemingly.
But only to Korean teams. That's the problem here, is we have to take a minute to realize that since the Super League 2016, the only person to ever actually take a series from them is only the other Korean. So again, though, yes, we accept that they are mortals, and we realize that there could be this, again, a weaker performance coming from Korea overall at this tournament, L5 is still in prime position to be absurdly dominant here. And that's why I said I really want that from them. Otherwise, I do fear, you know, this, not only the drop of Korea, but like, what does it mean for the rest of the tournament? I know it's going to be exciting and awesome, but it also is just like having those reoccurring dominant teams. I don't know, something inspiring almost about it, at least from my perspective.
The closest non-Korean team to taking out L5 was Fnatic at the last Global. And they weren't able to do it. They were closer in the group stages, in the earlier parts of the bracket, than they were in the finals. But Fnatic were able to take down a Korean team. Like you said, no non-Korean team has taken down L5. this could be a first for Soul Torturers if they're able to step it up from what we would expect from them.
Yeah.
My fear is I don't think they will. Watching their games, I feel like there are moments where Soul Torturers can get the tempo of the game in a solid state, and they can ride that tempo out and get a couple of wins here and there. They're also pretty darn good at converging on kills. The problem is L5, I feel like, is much better at that, both in macro play and control. Whenever I saw Soul Torturers in a moment where they didn't get a kill immediately in a team fight, they kind of dispersed and fell apart pretty quickly. They have a lack of coordination to actually get kills that could be very difficult for them to earn victories today. I'm hoping that they can do it, but right now on paper, L5 just looks so much better.
All right, let's focus now back onto Soul Torturers, of course, as here is their roster getting good to go. They actually do have some very good scrim partners, or have been able to scrim good teams in the past. They work with Deadly Kittens, who, you know, they have their strengths elsewhere, and then they have scrimmed L5 as well in the past. So they probably have a little bit of a glimpse. I mean, I think at this point, everyone has a good glimpse into how L5, because once you're at the top, you become the most studied, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's got their eyes on L5 at some point in time.
Yes.
You've taken the time to be like, how can I be more like them? Really is what a lot of questions most of these teams have actually asked. But I do think that really in this game that we could see Soul Torturers, if they stick together and they draft well, that I do think it could be a battle. I think the biggest thing that Soul Torturers could do to step up and put a fight against them is going to start before the game actually loads in. Right. It is going to be the draft. That is an area right now where, I mean, it was apparent with Roll20 versus MVP Black that we know Korea just doesn't study nearly as much because they win. They are the ones creating things.
Cases, I suppose.
And in this, with a team that is that performs better than every other out of the non-league regions, if they can take a draft, suddenly it could be a game. But the minute it's a standard on standard, I think L5 rides away.
I think something that's interesting about Soul Torturers when we were speaking to them yesterday is that they see this match going up against L5 as a stress tolerance test, to quote them. So it's a very interesting attitude to take to your first game, which admittedly it's L5. They're one of the strongest teams in the world, if not the strongest team in the world. So an interesting way to approach it, right?
Yeah, certainly a blessing in disguise, especially coming out in the very start and playing arguably the best team here in this group. If you go down on them, you can just totally shake that off and be like, you know what? We got beat. We had a couple cool moments, but guess who's next? People that are much easier than the opposing team. So it's always great to walk in there and get that experience.
Well, let's take a look at what our battlegrounds are going to be for this match as we do start things off on Dragonshire, and then we go to Infernal Shrines afterwards. What do you make of that, guys?
The Dragonshire is something that I believe we've seen a lot of out of L5 selected specifically. I guess not at the top of their priority, but it's one they're very comfortable. So Soul Torturers is legitimately taking L5 to one of their comfort maps, their top 3 priority. And the fact that L5 is moving to Infernal is different, something that they haven't displayed too heavily in the past, but I think against Soul Torturers, they should have confidence. I wouldn't be surprised at any map pick out of L5. If anything, I'd be trying to feign I have a new interest, right? Much like the warhead of tempo, if you will.
I mean, we've always said this about a lot of teams, so it's not, this isn't memeing by any chance because we talked to Soul Torturers and they said this. They feel that they're a heavily momentum-based team. So for them to go to any map, whichever map that they choose, they have to have strong confidence on it to then try and carry them through the rest of the series. Is that fair to say?
It's probably one of the most difficult maps to have momentum on. It feels like just a map objective in itself and the shrine control, and of course going to late game. You're going to come to a point where there's going to be a standstill, especially if globals come into the mix, those fall stats, those Dahakas. So them getting momentum on this battleground will be a bit difficult. However, there are moments where they can make it work. They do seem to like Nazebo, even Ragnaros to a degree, so they can go to the late game here and try to hang out with L5. Will it work? That's what we get to find out.
Let's talk about the 2 new members of Soul Torturers. I'm kind of focusing a little bit more on Soul Torturers here because L5 is L5 and everyone knows L5, like 100%. They have incorporated Hikari and Bui. I assume I'm pronouncing the 00 correctly. And Hikari was an old friend that they thought that they could teach and kind of raise up and bring in.
They described it as they needed someone to play with in a local tournament.
Right.
And then they were like, yeah, you know what? We can teach him this.
Yeah.
And they decided to work it out from there.
I think it's great that they kind of like, this team is friends. They are a group of friends that have banded together.
The other one they met in military service,
yes,
I think it was?
Indeed. Yeah. Bui was met through the military and they said they had potential. So anyway, we are getting into the draft, gentlemen, to start things off on Dragonshire. What are we expecting coming out of the gates? Any thoughts?
I think not so much what I'm expecting, but I think there's something before the draft begins to note that I feel like we can learn heavily about this tournament in Korea right now. Is what Korea drafts, if it emulates anything or close to that of MVP Black, that again, unless they feel the pressure of the international meta directly, that they are just not going to adjust, not going to fluctuate, and again, failing to have that respect, which I believe would be a heavy sign for Soul Torturers to have an opportunity. Because when we were talking about momentum, Soul Torturers is worried about momentum, but L5 is worried about momentum too, but in a different sense, the tournament. Korea uses the momentum of, they don't walk in with the best meta, but they sure as heck refine it. They are mechanically so good, they learn it. So right now, they only have the sample size of one Korean team versus a North American to learn what was right and wrong, according to the drafts, and that is it.
And that was almost an anomaly considering that first map.
And again, and then also that Roll20 only displayed Medivh, which is heavy isolated to that team specifically within our region. So I feel as if we see a full Korean draft out of L5, this could be a much closer game purely because it does seem like that meta is going to be the struggling one. Falstead, nowhere yet, but it is a cool thing to I just walk into this draft with that perspective.
It is the first time we've seen Falstad as well, considering a lot of teams seem to be being a bit scared of picking it, considering the high prevalence of the Genji currently in the meta. So seeing L5 go straight for this as their first pick, it's immensely strong on this map. So they seem to be valuing that over the potential comps that you can build around that Genji.
I'm really expecting the Genji to be coming from the Soul Torturers. They prioritized him heavily throughout their entire finals they went through in Taiwan. So we'll see if we begin that picked up. But back to your point, Dred, there's a Genji and there's a Tyrael. I think we're going to see normal meta from Korea consistently. In the interviews, we talked to L5, and the only team that they mentioned, just like MVP Black, was Fnatic. That's the only team that they were willing to prepare for. We even pressured a little bit and said, hey, what about Dignitas? They're like, nah, Dignitas got a couple tricks. We can solve them pretty easily. They don't really care as much.
I think what's important is that I think the Korean team said that Dignitas copies Korea, but because we're Korea, we know exactly what we're doing against that. It's fine. It's Korea light. We drink that all day. It's fine. Easy life. Like
30 calories.
We literally made this, right?
We're the premium, all right?
But then again, have you ever tried playing against a Blizzard employee?
Exactly. Think about it.
Just because you make it doesn't mean you're the best.
All I heard was
pew, pew, pew.
Dang, going in. Well, back to the draft.
I am fired.
Dahaka and Malfurion picked up. L5 drafting for this battleground in particular are in a wonderful spot for a foundation. Having Dahaka and Falstad is very scary to play against. This now forces Soul Torturers to get really good picks, but also be in a spot where they can deal with the pressure coming their way.
The double global allows you to play this map in, it feels like, unlimited.
It's like God mode.
It unrestricts lane order. It feels like you can go the 2-1 double global pressure top with a heavy gank emphasis through bottom. You can cycle that inverse, right? Like, there is a lot of different things L5 can do lane matchup wise, which I feel is nice to be able to adapt to on the back half with your last two picks here. It really can manipulate Soul Torturers because they've sacrificed all wave clear, not looking to have a heavy 1-4. They're very much concentrating on those skirmishing, and L5 with double global, you can macro through top and rotate macro through bottom and really take advantage of the lack of wave clear.
Surely then Soul Torturers has to focus on control of bot lane.
They have to focus on control of the minions, really. It can choose a lane, it doesn't matter, but let the minion wave be pushing against L5. Yeah, it can be through, typically it's going to be the 1-4 through mid and bottom, but somewhere I would like to see them focus on that because L5, they don't have necessarily heroes you look at as wave clear masters, but the global in itself and the map objective really kind of makes up for that.
So if we want to talk about heroes that can really assist them in controlling the lanes and also maybe helping deal with the global potential that we already see from L5, Abathur immediately springs to mind. He can assist in any of the lanes and counteracts the global, assuming you don't body soak too much, because Race Car Dahaka makes that basically impossible at this point.
I am worried that we won't see an Abathur from Soul Torturers in particular, though. That's more of an EU strat that, gosh, it's so good. But for some reason, the other regions haven't moved into it as much. Mostly on the bigger battlegrounds, we'll see it as often. Maybe Towers of Doom, Warhead Junction to a degree. But on Dragonshire, that'd be amazing to see. However, Soul Torturers are bringing out the Nazebo. There it is, and Muradin.
That's some control of the bottom mid, if I've ever seen some.
So first time Falstad, first time Nazebo today, I believe, from both of these. So a lot of firsts in this series, straight away.
The Muradin's a cool adaptation, though, taking it away from L5, which is something that you would see pretty often from them. Noblesse being quite the god on that hero.
Sorry, it's just so good. I am Yeah, it is interesting to see that stolen away so quickly as well. Soul Torturers absolutely having done their homework here. They've got some great front line in the form of Muradin Tyrael to try and protect the Nazebo.
Well, in general, isn't the majority of what Noblesse goes to Muradin and Tyrael?
Yeah, they've taken away their main warriors.
Just truly both.
So what has he got left? What is next down the list for him
is
here?
Varian there? I think Varian's one, no?
Johanna, maybe?
I feel like Johanna, because of the focus on Soul Torturers, again, into more skirmish-oriented. Nazebo doesn't have the wave clear. He's got the late game scaling, and he does decent in the laning phase, don't get me wrong. Stitches.
That'll do. Okay.
Nice.
I like how the Korean teams, Dignitas's Korea light.
They copy us. They go for the Western Clash comp.
So this is a composition that we have seen, as you mentioned, perfected by Dignitas. He stitches into a hook from Malfurion.
Wow.
KT follows up with the Gravity Lapse, and most likely, if you hit that target with those 3 abilities, you're going to burn them down.
Yeah.
Soul Torturers will now have the task of making sure to have their Nikes on and dodge those hooks that are coming their way. Will they finish up with the Ragnaros here for their 5th pick just to secure that they get to the end game? I am a bit worried with Falstad being around for those rotations that Ragnaros could be picked on.
I'm just going to go ahead and drop the fact that their lack of support is probably going to be...
Yeah, you're right. That's probably true, too. Just another point.
Getting ahead of yourself, Trick. Remember that hashtag we had
I'm thinking in the year 2020, we're not going to play with support. They're going to be nerfed so hard that we're going to be in a good spot where Ragnaros himself can just finish out a roster.
Well, when nobody has cleanse, everyone's just like, what's the point? I don't know.
Don't need to heal if the enemy's dead.
My heart's just dying on the inside with every statement. I want you guys to know that it hurts. It hurts.
Oh, yeah, you're a support, aren't you?
Yeah, it feels bad.
He's one of those players.
But to be honest, it is funny that, like the L5 comic, like mimicking Dig, because it's not, they mimic Dig in almost 2 fronts. I guess Dignitas seemed halfway through part 2 to become obsessed with this double global pressure, especially on certain maps like Braxis, where it would be like, we pressure out, and the minute you pay attention to us, we're going to cycle it out. So you have that in Dragonshire form, and then you have the trio of the Stitches, the KT, into the Malfurion for your 4-man, have that kill potential. It's just so interesting that, are we going to see standard Korean? No, we see more EU embodiment out of the draft of Korea. It's just, I think it's awesome. It shows that there is a less stable mentality out of the Korean scene so far, and L5 suffers from it too. How bad? We're going to find out.
What are your thoughts, boys?
I'm excited to see how L5 pulls this off. First off, I love that Taiwan moved into the Karazim here. They use Karazim very often to get Stitches. 1, to try and burn him down with 7-sided, but 2, at 16, the cleanse is being available to stop this rotation that occurs. So if we can get to 16 in a solid spot for our team here, which they should be able to, it is Dragonshire, we have a chance for Soul Torturers to maybe get a victory.
Your prediction?
I'm going to go with the risk. I'm going with Soul Torturers. That's just my life, man. I just want to be risky all day, every day.
There's more hashtags I need to make up about you very, very soon, my friend. All right, Techa?
A Korean team playing what we would consider an EU draft. I would love to see the kind of polish they put on it. I'm going with L5.
I got to say L5. You know, I think that's one just too amazing of a team for way too long here. I feel like Soul Torturers had a lot to prove, but I think they have potential.
All right, well, will level-headed minds prevail, or will Trick's wacky picks become a thing? We shall find out in just a few moments' time. Of course, make sure to keep voting over in the chat as well, as L5, a little bit of an advantage. Little bit of an advantage.
Not the highest one we've seen.
No, well, we shall find out how the results are going to go down in just a few moments now, as we head over to the casting team of Grubby and Gillyweed.
Roll20 able to take 1 game off a Korean team here on day 1 of the Mid-Season Brawl. Can Soul Torturers do the same here? They're safe laners, so they will need that versus all of the lockdown, the hooks, the gravity lapses too, roots, even drags. They need to be able to do that. No cleanse until 16, Grubby.
And there's a lot of threat coming out of L5 here, Gillyweed, with Natrojin, Jongha, Swoi, Noblesse, and SCSC on 5 heroes of amazing prowess in the lockdown department. Let's see if Soul Torturers can survive until level 16. I think Trick hit the nail on the head there. There is a lot of threat there from L5.
They are. Here are the team, or is the team trying to sustain through that with Loli playing Genji. We've got Zola playing Tyrael, God Dog on Nazebo, Scroll playing Muradin, and Hikari playing Karazim. Loli should be the buoy if you had watched any of their regional before. L5 already starting to look for those picks.
Yeah, but Nazebo just cheekily threw a jar of spiders there on the entire team of L5. And that was enough for L5 to disperse and drop the surprise party here. Now, Soul Torturers has a safe laning team, you said, and it's true, many of their heroes have an escape. But the thing is, Noblesse has a very long hook, and he's not afraid to use it. And the first victim falls in just 35 seconds.
There's a lot of people with escapes, but do you get to use them? That is the question. In that instance, Hikari was not able to, finally jumping out, but just in time to pass off. Here's some fire as I go down to his teammate.
Every 16 seconds, it's going to be adrenaline pump time because Stitches has that cooldown every 16 seconds. And look at that trust. Gillyweed from SCNC and Swoy. The immediate Gravity Lapse and Entangle. That's the amount of faith they put in Noblesse's hooks. And as long as they keep doing that, there will be no escape, even if you have Radiant Dash.
L5 are really looking to get ahead in the early game here. With this, Roots again to catch Gravity Lapse to follow up. Just a perfect synchronization there, but God Dog doesn't go down. The turn is real. Soul Torturers get their own kill.
Very well done. Now they are in a 4 versus 4 situation. Tyrael still has monopoly on that top lane because the Haka and Falstad flew in here to help. A great statement by Soul Torturers in the second successful combination of abilities by L5. Nazeebo, as a bit more of a tanky damage dealer, was able to live long enough and get the counter zombie wall on Kel'Thas.
We'll see what he gets at 4, but regardless should help with that sustainability quite a bit, even if it is the standard of Hexed Crawlers to go along with Widowmakers, but that'll help. Every talent tier that's added to ST is another breath of fresh air versus L5. They just want to try to get Nazeebo to that power spike. They want to get to 16 so they have Cleansing Touch too. All of these things will be able to help them out, getting stronger and stronger, whereas it is a little bit. The onus is on L5 to be able to try to make those picks happen.
Yeah, very much, because level 16 Karazim gets 3 cleanses. Level 16 Nazeebo is crazy. Big move here on Kel'Thas. SCSC drops very low, but the turnaround hook on Lowly nearly gets taken out. Very lethal aim there by Noblesse. In the meantime, L5 took the Dragon Knight.
Stalling out ST, distracting them from the Dragon Knight in mid, long enough for Nachogen to pick it up. It's an early Dragon Knight, so Nachogen just hoping to get the towers what he can, but the rest of L5 are looking to get picks, and they do. Another kill for Nazeebo.
Third successful combination there of abilities. This time he goes down. 8 was far away, and the Dragon Knight is getting massive value. The average result is probably about 2 to 3 towers. He's getting a solid 4 towers plus the gate here. Very nice result for L5. Good lead for them.
Now I will note that ST are good at being able to come back in a game. Oh man, but these picks, the hooks have been on point right from the get-go for Noblesse. Another life claimed. Dude, in fact, ST having a rough time with L5's pick comp.
Yeah, I almost feel, Gilly, like there is Korea and then there is Korea. MVP Black showed up kind of like a ragtag band of mercenaries in the way that they pick their heroes. Like, oh yeah, these 5 heroes are good. L5 shows up here as a composition that works together. They look so smooth right from the get-go already. Very fearful, a very scary statement towards Soul Torturers.
It is, and you know, when we talked to ST, they mentioned that they were excited for this match, specifically because they have scrimmed L5 before, and they know L5, they view L5 as the top in their group, so they wanted to test their stress tolerance, and they are certainly getting tested right now. Drag from Jungha is absolutely beautiful. Another kill on Nazeebo, L5 at 5 kills to 1.
Yeah, this is pretty mad at this moment. Tyrael, he's happy that he is solo laning in the top, getting bonus experience for his team, but he doesn't clear fast enough to really pressure that tower wall.
Yeah.
And that is what L5 is abusing here. They say, okay, Tyrael gets put as a solo laner, not because he's a great one, just because he can hold his own. Therefore, it's far more okay to leave him if you think you can get the kills in the bottom lane, and L5 is doing that.
Yeah, it's even better to be able to brush talk for Jungha because he gets back up in time. Hook, Gravity Lapse, Scroll makes it out by the skin of his teeth. ST falling behind in experience. L5's 4-man continuing to wreak havoc over this battleground, and largely because getting those early walls down with the Dragon Knight has been so good for them because there's no wall to hide behind now.
Yep, I mean, L5 is pretty crazy. I mean, Noblesse, I don't know. He's got like a radar and homing missile on that hook or something.
I'm gonna need somebody to count how many of these hit throughout the game, because that ratio has got to be insane.
Yeah, it is absolutely bonkers, Gilly. And you know, as someone who has studied the Taiwanese region extensively, you were telling me as we were watching this draft unfold, they like Karazim as their support. They like Ariel. Two supports that do not get cleanse. Cleanse, of course, ability that removes stun, silence, and so on. And this, you know, we're thinking maybe Rhaegar is needed, but you said it's a comfort thing. The support player is relatively new, right?
Right, exactly. For a long time, on GIA and PBA, they had Zola as the support player. And now switching things out, putting their new player, Hikari, on the support role, does limit them in what heroes he feels completely confident on. They do like to use Karazim in 7-sided strike, and we will likely see that, although I don't know, they may even feel like they need Palm here because of how many of these hooks have been hitting, because Noblesse is just on fire right out of the beginning of this game. But it does seem to me to be sort of a hero pool issue, and I agreed with you that Rhaegar, he would give some wave clear, but importantly also the cleanse. But maybe if ST could get there, get to 16 without losing too much, although the longer this goes on, things are looking better and better for L5.
Yeah, I mean, 16 will give Soul Torturer's Spider Colony, Nazeebo, level 16, which adds like 60% to his total damage output. You finally get Karazim to get that cleansing touch. But can they really survive that long? They're down 1 and 6 in takedowns, 2 levels. They're down 2 forts, and they have talent equality. Finally, they've got Sanctification, Avatar, and Divine Palm. I don't think they can really wait. I think they need to go on the place, on the map, to try and catch L5.
They might have the fight just come to them. Here is a Gorge on Nazeebo. Noblesse kind of faltered about where he wanted to go with that, and that gives time for GodDog to run away. But can he get all the way away? Palm has been used. GodDog runs out. So far, everyone's staying alive. Slowly jumping back in, and then gets dragged from Dahaka. Jungha gets the first kill in this fight.
Yeah, the maximum range drag tongue by Jungha on Genji was absolutely insane. Nachojin with the aggressive fly-in, the Mighty Gust. Arke, and there comes Sanctification, but Nazeebo walks out of it. Either way, he was doomed. The hook as well.
No, bless goodness. These hooks have been awesome for L5. They have a 3-level lead over ST now as they start to siege down some keep structures, trying to open up this battleground as fast as they can. Yes, normally it's a long game on Dragonshire, but when you're playing out of your minds like L5 are here, you can shorten that up a little bit.
This is so insane. I have never seen such repeated hook accuracy. I've seen it over the course of a game, but with more thinking, with more pressure. Here it's just a strike every single time. Such beautiful play here by L5. Starting to capture some of those mercenary camps, getting ready for the next phase. And that phase could just get bottom keep already if they get the Dragon Knight here, L5.
Yeah, they have the mercenary camp in the bottom to be able to push that out for a long time, sitting on the shrines. Do ST feel like it's go time even without 13? They feel like they need to get aggressive knowing that otherwise it is a possible keep, especially with the double mercenary camp action here in the bottom. For now, the sole hope for Soul Torturers has been the top lane that the Tyrael were able to hold on, or was able to hold on to that shrine for a little while, but now Dahaka's starting to make his move.
Tyrael has been pretty much stationed there at quite a boring job, but just kind of holding the lane. He can't push too hard, can't defeat Dahaka either, and it's really those shining moments in his life where he can join the team fight, get that Sanctification down, but it didn't quite work out. Soul Torturer's best chance came and went at the level 10 versus 12 mark, and now they have to hide behind a rock and hope that they can survive the onslaught here of L5. And Noblesse, he's ever hungry with that hook.
Yeah, it is a very scary place to be trying to defend this Dragon Knight. There's the hook. Gargantuan actually will go in for that. GodDog trying to use that 16 seconds where he knows it's down to throw out some damage where it is possible. Tyrael still hanging out in the top lane, trying to get Soul Torturers to 13 so they can try to take a fight off the back of this Dragon Knight.
Keep is down and forfeited already. Soul Torturer is going for the long game. They don't have talent equality yet. Once they're 13, they can take good fights, but until then, they have to lay low here.
Ice Block will help so much for Nazeebo there. Just a matter of time. Man, a double talent tier lead is impressive for L5, but 9 kills to 1, early keep for them. Everything is going L5's way here on Dragonshire.
Big attack here. Gravity Labs though on Genji, one of the most mobile characters. Deflect will keep him alive for a bit, but he gets stunned and destroyed.
Perfect timing from Jungha. Oh, but that was nice. Gust there too. Twilight Dream at the same time, so overlap of those. But even still, the members of ST are low and falling. Has to ice block out of the Palm. Palm was proc.
Nice.
Sanctification too in the nick of time. Zola's staying alive for a long time, eventually falling.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really nice try, keeping Nazeebo alive for as long as he did. But ultimately, both him and Nazeebo fell to the ruthless onslaught here of L5, who are moving inexorably forward towards the core of Soul Torturers. Do they turn back here on account of low HP? Do they try to set a trap and get more kills and end the game? For now, it's Nitrogen! And he goes down, the second takedown here for Soul Torturers.
It was a nice turnaround from ST that they were able to recognize that Nitrogen was departing their base away from the rest of L5. So finally, Soul Torturers are able to get some relief, some respite. But it is brief. 2 keeps down now that they will have to babysit and watch for the catapults to push. Getting some mercenaries out on the map will help them push that back, help them try to soak up to 16 so they can continue to try to get back into this game with their fights.
L5 is starting to capture all the mercenary camps. Anytime you know that your opponent is looking for that turnaround fight, that's where you don't give it. You first flood the map with mercenaries, and you force your opponent, who is already on the defense, to respond. That's what L5 is doing. The vision is completely on the side of L5. Soul Torturers has no idea where L5 is right now. It's only now that Stitches shows at the bottom. Jongha nearly getting a solo kill there on Genji.
Nacho flew in, but Skrull did a good job of being able to spot that out, stop him from trying to gust everyone else in. Nobody else was rotating though, instead just capping the shrine in the bottom lane, starting to escort those mercenaries. Nobody in position to stop this Dragon Knight. And L5 get another Dragon Knight. Complete control on this game, starting to head toward the mid, knowing that they still have such a dominant lead, 16 talent tier advantage.
Skrull gets silenced, gets hit by the Dragon Knight by Melf, Moonfire, and he gets taken out. Murden is gone, so it's Genji. And Karazim will get kicked away the hook. This is just merciless by L5, as it should be. 15 versus 2 in takedowns and 3 deaths on the side of Soul Torturers.
I cannot commend Jungha enough. Every time Noblesse causes chaos in the ranks of ST, and once they start to go back to their base, Jungha is there immediately with a follow-up drag, capitalizing on the chaos that the rest of L5 caused. They played this beautifully. It was so good at one point. A 4-level lead, L5 showing their dominance in Game 1 over ST.
Yeah, I see Noblesse there with a cheeky grin as that game was concluded in L5's favor, and why not? He played a fantastic game, and so did the rest of his team. 17 and 2 in takedowns. L5 in an uncharacteristically long 13-minute game. It's only because it's Dragonshire.
Yeah, the Dragonshire factor, definitely.
Yeah.
No, they played so well in this first one. Soul Torturers wanted to play the long game, and L5 didn't give it to them. They understood the benefit of having Nazeebo on Dragonshire, and even just never let ST get to that point. So that is it for Game 1. Let's head over to the analyst panel and see what they thought.
That's right, pretty clean cut overall. L5 taking that first victory, and it's a good point that Gillyweed actually brings up there. If you're going to draft for something like having a Nazeebo there, surely the draft needs to have a little bit more delay for you when you're going up against a team like L5 that's pretty dominant. What would you try and incorporate into that draft to try and delay out if you're looking for an endgame solution?
I mean, it comes out in the same thing I said, even without knowing that they were going to go to the Nazeebo. I think it was only worsened by the fact they committed to the Nazeebo. It was their ability to not commit to controlling at least one half of the shrines, which when you're facing the double global, you aren't dominating through wave clear, and you picked a skirmish-oriented composition. If you're not an even footing to the mid part of the game and you aren't winning those fights, it's really unrealistic to win a Dragonshire game.
I would agree. They didn't choose a lane to dominate. They sort of just chose to delay the game. But there's only so long you can delay because you just keep losing things. They were delaying bot lane. They lost a fort. They were delaying top lane. They lost the Dragon Knight. It just made no sense. They weren't achieving anything. They were waiting for something that was never going to come.
Yeah, that was a real display of what Soul Torturer has as a weakness. They're a team that once they lose one member, they just fall apart. And they try to fight too. There was moments where they would try to re-engage with an Azebo, nonetheless, in a 5v4, and never got the situation to actually put themselves on even footing. They never just give up. And sometimes with those compositions, you kind of have to. Give up a 4 here and there, farm it out, stay at least close in experience levels, and they at some point were 4 levels behind. Yeah. That's just L5 being on point.
Yeah, indeed. Let's take a look